Hello, thank you for tuning to the next episode. This one is with Helena Korpela, who is an expert for education export in the international office of Centria UAS. During our conversation, we were discussing Helena's strange route to Finland and how she anchored in here. Aside from that, we were discussing her profession, how a day in the international office looks like, why students should want to go for an exchange, and what does that bring into their life and into their future career. We both agreed that exchange into foreign countries is a priceless experience. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I would like to thank Centria University of Applied Sciences for providing me with the necessary equipment and premise to record the podcast in. Nevertheless, I wish you a pleasant journey. Very well. Hello there.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's to you too as well. How did you enjoy Christmas? Have you been here?
Yeah, we were here in Finland in Kokkola, and yeah, with the family. We have small kids, so it's all about celebrating magic through the eyes of, or Christmas magic through the eyes of kids. So
How many?
2 kids, 2 and 4.5. So they very much believe in Santa and all this magic, about these, what we call in Finnish, tonttu. So the little helpers of Santa. And like Christmas gets a really new vibe when you have small kids who believe in Santa and, believe in the magic of somebody knowing what you wish for and bringing gifts and things like that. What about your Christmas and New Year's?
Well, actually, for me, this was the first time in my life, basically, that I have, well, first of all, that I have been given gifts by Santa, because in Czech Republic we have sort of like a Czechish Santa. I don't know how to say it, and but otherwise, I was for the first time outside of my family. So I was with my girlfriend in Pietarsaari. She's a Swedish-speaking Finn, and so it has been really cool.
A bit different.
A bit different. I definitely like the joulukinku, or like the
Christmas
yeah,
ham.
that's so good. And
Well, it better be when you have it in the oven for like 8 hours.
oh, yeah. Well, so we ate it in 2 different like settings. Her mom was doing it for like a longer period of time on like 150 or something, whilst her aunt was doing it on like high temperature, not so long.
Okay.
And both were really, really good. But yeah, so that has been kind of I wanted to work a lot. I had a lot of stuff that I was like, I need to do this and work my thesis, and I didn't do anything.
But good. You had a break.
I was just watching movies and doing puzzles.
But that's good.
It was fun.
Taking a break.
It was fun. Now that we are talking about Christmas, what is the difference? So you're from France originally, or half?
It's a long story.
Which we have time for. That's
Yeah.
So that was where I was aiming. So how did you end up here in Finland, and what was the path?
Okay, well, maybe actually for that we have to go back into my parents' path, because actually, so my mom is Finnish, my dad is Dutch. They met, so they meet at one point, and eventually then they met actually in the Netherlands, and that's how they got together and eventually got married. Then my brother was born in England, and then they moved to France, where I was born, and we lived there and in England, and we traveled quite a bit then to Finland and to the Netherlands and wherever. But so I'm the French person in our family, even though like none of my blood is French, but I have gone through most of my education in France. So, like école maternelle, école primaire, collège, lycée. So all this thing until high school, I was in France, and actually my first university degree. So I would say that it's my, culture of the heart in a way, because I don't know, my forming years were spent in France, so to say. So I've been like ingrained in this sort of like revolutionary spirit of, I don't know, like it sounds a bit crazy, but like in university when something was up, we would like go to demonstrate on the streets. It's taught to you that like if a situation is unpleasant, you have a voice and you can voice it. And I think that's something I grew up with in France. But yeah, in university, then I had the choice to go on exchange. And I actually wanted to come to Finland because my mom is from here. And back then, like, I had never lived in Finland. I had visited in the summer. And I had this image of Finland of being like this sort of like oasis of people being so kind. And I really wanted to come to live here. But I didn't dare to make, the jump and move completely. So Erasmus was really the thing. And in university, I have the choice between Kokkola and Helsinki. Yeah. And actually, my mom's family is not from too far from here. So that's how I ended up here. Because I looked at the map and I thought, like, this is the best way to catch on, like to, reach my roots. And that was in 2007 when I came as an exchange student. Apparently it worked out. But I did actually go back at some times. Like after my exchange studies, I did go back to France to finish my studies. And then I came back the next summer to work at the international office for one summer to do a work placement. And then at that point, I was given the chance to come back. They offered me a job, but I also had a boyfriend then in France, and I also was supposed to go to study some more in France. So I went back. And after 1 week, I realized, like, no, I'm not made for France anymore. So I came back. And since then, I'm a permanent resident of Finland.
That's a very, very unique way of coming in here. That's, well...
But how about you? Like, I think you had a bit similar way. You came through the exchange studies, or?
Yeah, I don't know if I've described it already, but I always joke around it that I'm here kind of on accident because we were in a study room because in Czech Republic in the universities here in Centria the students are all over the campus, whilst in Czech we have like specific rooms for where the students gather and study together. It's kind of like the pink area or the green area here. And we were sitting there and doing some, I don't know, exam, like studying for some exam. A friend of mine was like, I forgot to send the papers for Erasmus. I was like, what do you mean Erasmus? I want to go for Erasmus. Why did you tell me something? And he was like, yeah, but it's 2 days past the deadline. And I was like, where are you going? He was like, Finland. I said, good enough.
I'll go there
give
too.
Give me the coordinator's email. Immediately I sent him an email. I was like, I'm sorry, I did not know that there is the deadline. Can I still apply if I submit all the papers today? He was like, yeah, submit it today so I can do it in the morning tomorrow and you can still go. So I didn't even know where I'm going. And we were supposed to go to a different place.
Okay.
But because there was too many people from our university going there, about 5, I believe, they told us that they will split us and we with my friends will go to Kokkola instead. So the first coincidence is that I'm in Finland. I didn't even choose it. And the second thing is that I was supposed to be somewhere completely different. But by fate led me here. And so I have been here for 1 semester as an Erasmus student. Then extended for another semester, and then just dropped out of studies from Czech and transferred the whole my credits to Centria and basically started from scratch here.
Super.
So it was a little bit unusual as well, but we were talking about this with Hubert and Gellert, and Hubert was saying that it does happen like once or twice or rather a student per year or per 2 years. Sometimes it's awkward emails with the universities like, yeah, you're a student, like sit here so much that he wants to leave here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but actually I think that's the thing with exchange studies, that it's really the smoothest way to get to try out living in a foreign country. Because like taking the plunge and moving directly to a foreign country, of course it can be super scary and it can be like a big risk, because like transferring your life to another country. But going for an exchange, you get to try the living style, how comfortable you are from living alone in a different country without your family close by and things like that. So
I must say that in my opinion, nowadays, we have opportunities like our parents never, or at least my parents from Central Europe never had, right? And so now I kind of view, after the experience of going abroad and moving there, I kind of view it in a way that you should, as a person, kind of outline what is dear to you.
yeah.
and based off of that, you can basically decide where to live.
Exactly.
Because English is the new Esperanto. You can just speak it everywhere, and everywhere there's gonna be somebody who's gonna speak it. And if you want to be ambitious, hardworking, and you want to make a lot of money, maybe US is the place for you, right? If you want to just spend your time on beaches and have high temperatures and good wine, go to Italy or so, right? If you like cold temperatures, if you like nice, kind people, and you want to be socially secure from the state, Finland is the thing, right? Etc. Right? So you can find any place on Earth basically, and just move there based off of what do you like, right? And now coming to your point, and for that, I believe that Erasmus, or like exchange in general, is an amazing thing, because I've now moved to Finland. I plan to stay here for a while, but now I would like to go to exchange to Japan.
Super.
In autumn, if possible. You can ask Timo to be kind on me when I have the application. But I would like to go to Japan, then finish my studies, probably finish my master's, and then I was thinking that either for PhD or for second masters, for business masters, I would go to US.
Sure.
And then I would have basically like the three most appealing places to me, which would be the northern countries. I take it as a bunch, whether it's Finland or Norway, it doesn't matter that much. Then Japan, and then US, and I could compare and see like which one is the one that speaks to me the most.
Exactly.
And then I could just move there, right? So it's possible that I will go there and there and there, and then I will go back to Finland and stay here forever, right? Or it's also possible that
maybe there'll be a wild card, because like one thing that I've realized is that you never know also what good things can happen. Like you were mentioning these coincidences, and maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody from Germany was gonna like send you an email and say like, hey, this is something we would like you to work on. Or maybe somebody from Southern Africa, like, how open are you to that option? That something unexpected could also happen in a good way.
I'm fully open, but to a certain degree. Like I wouldn't probably go to, I don't know, Kenya for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
But I would definitely go to Kenya for like a year or two if there would be some interest. I mean, I don't know why I chose Kenya, right? But doesn't matter, anywhere in the world. If I would have an interesting opportunity, somebody would be like, okay, we noticed somehow, I don't know how, but somehow we noticed you, and we would like to work with you for a while on some project. I would be definitely willing to go anywhere. But this what I was saying was rather towards like my sort of selection of the where I want to spend the most of the time of my life, which is something that people don't realize a lot, because everybody is, especially people who never went abroad except for holidays, but that's a completely different story, right? That they never went abroad for a little bit of a longer period of time, they don't that they kind of see like it's nice to visit places, but like this is where I was born, so this is where I'm supposed to be, right? But it's not like that at all, in my belief at least.
Yeah, because I when you mentioned, for instance, your parents, in my case was very different. My father was traveling a lot and lived in many countries also before he met my mom, and after we lived in various countries, so France, different places, England, different places. So for me, it's normal to sort of like your family follows you and your home is basically where your heart is, as cliche as that sounds, but actually that's very true. And you create also your life around it. Now, of course, when I think about where we could move, it's a bit more difficult when we have two small kids. But it's not, I don't like forget that dream. And I would really love that we go and live abroad for some time.
It's
with
hard,
the kids.
but it's not impossible.
Exactly. I mean, my parents did it like at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. So, I mean, and things were much more difficult then. So that's when I think about that. And of course, there's probably new difficulties nowadays. But I mean, you can raise kids anywhere, and it just, of course, nothing. But then again, nothing is easy. Like, it's not easy to raise a family here either, and life is not easier necessarily here. It's only because we're used to it, in a way.
You should talk to Janne. We were talking about this with Janne in the first podcast, that he basically went abroad for, I believe, a year or two in the US with his wife whilst having 2 kids. Basically, one kid, and then the second one was born in there. So it's hard. I know it's hard, and it's hard to take an advice from me when I'm, I don't know, 23 and I don't have kids, right? But I believe it's hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
Even with kids, it's still possible, and exactly it creates these amazing stories for the kids to be sort of having a whole different view of world than this sort of close-minded.
But then again, I think this sort of like citizen of the world way of thinking can be also taught at home. Like, it doesn't require us to sort of like live abroad to sort of put this mindset into the kids.
You think so?
Of course, it's better if we do this traveling, but I still think, like, for instance, what we do, we speak different languages. Of course, my parents are international, so the kids, they see this, that people can live abroad, speak different languages, do things differently, but it's also how you tell about the world. Do you tell that this is the reality here in Kokkola, or are they different worlds? Are they different countries?
I'm just... I've never thought about it that way. I mean, it's not that deep of a topic, right? But I've never thought about, like, I don't know if it's, well, to be fair, I don't think I know anybody from like a very close circle of mine that would be brought up in like a multilingual home or have had parents teach them this sort of like the planet is my home. Type of deal. So
Oh, my oldest kid wants to move to Mars, so we've already been talking about the future. So just to give an example, it's like, because they know no limits, you know, they just know what you explain to them. So that's really beautiful. Like,
so we have to broaden it from the world is my home. It's the now it's the Milky Way is my home.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we've been going through that stage already.
You have to put him on some astrophysics.
Yeah, he's already planned to go on to Mars, and he'll be growing his things there.
That's funny. That's funny. He should pursue that dream.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a value that I feel like, well, at least for me, in my eyes, it was awakened when I went for the Erasmus. I remember the first time I came after the first exchange. I came during the Christmas home, and we were sitting in the pub with the friends, the usual deal, and we were talking about something, and then somebody said something, and I was like, oh, ha ha ha, and I made some like joke, like this is what the French would do, right?
No.
And the whole table went silent. I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean the French? Like, what? I was like, okay, you don't have this, you know, you don't have this view of the, like, we are just here in our small city, in our bubble, doing inner jokes in the bubble, right? But there is like so much more behind the bubble that the people just are incapable of understanding unless experiencing. In my
that's probably true.
In my eyes. So I never thought about it that way, that you may be able to even raise a kid to be aware of this, because I don't know anybody. Anyways, you said you were studying in France for well,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
majority of your studies.
I did my I did my bachelor's degree. Up until my first university degree, I did in France.
And what was the bachelor's?
Langue étrangère appliquée, so foreign applied languages, German and English. I used to be rather fluent in German. I have forgotten everything.
Really? I should speak some as well, but I also forgot.
Let's not go into the German language.
No. But so Finland is known for like high quality education, right? It's basically the two things that
Finland is known for.
three apart three
Northern
apart
Lights.
from Snow Nokia, is high education and happy people, right? So in terms of high education, a lot of times people are asking me like, well, what is your stance on it? And I genuinely, I can say that it is a little different, at least in the university level. From my experience, the school in Czech was much more difficult, much more deep in the stuff that we were learning, which might have something to do that this is a university of applied sciences, not a university, but I don't know personally. I will have to test that out in Aalto probably. And but there is slight differences, like there is more homework here, it's more digitalized, it's more the emphasis is more on the student to try it out himself rather than some lecturer telling him some theories and writing it on paper. But I wouldn't say it's anyhow like vastly different. So my belief is that the things that are vastly different are probably like elementary and high schools in here, which probably, I don't know to which degree you know that here. But my point is, how would you compare the education in France, probably the university level, from there and from here? You finished your master's here
I did 2 masters then here in Finland.
in Kokkola both?
One was a university, so University of Vasa, and then I did one also at Oulu, University of Applied Sciences. So I also have that to compare. But just to come back on the fact that Finland is known for the education, actually so the PISA results, they are more related to the lower grade, so not university level. And that actually stems from the fact that teachers are really well educated and they have a lot of autonomy in designing their programs. So actually, there's a lot of research about this and really interesting. I should look for the name of this dude who's been speaking about this. He used to be the head of the Center of International Mobility in Finland, and I cannot remember his name right now, but it's very interesting, this whole topic of education, because how it's designed and how teachers have autonomy in designing their programs, and their high level of education means that they're very good at their work and they're super highly valued also in Finland. So there's huge numbers of people who want to be teachers, but not enough seats. So there's a big competition. So only the best get to be teachers. So if you have the best people teaching you, then usually the education will be also quite good. So that's my...
Is that so?
That's my stand. But maybe in University of Applied Sciences and university level is a bit different. Let's maybe...
No. But I want to continue on that. First of all, I would like to read that.
I'll look up those things because it's...
And second thing is because the general thing, at least in Czech Republic, again, like I'm saying Central Europe or Europe, but I'm pulling the experiences from my country, right? But that is that there is like not enough teachers. It's a daily topic in politics, in households. The teachers suck. They don't have a lot of money, so the people who are not able to catch themselves in private, they just go to education. So no, I mean not all teachers suck, right? But point being that there is not enough high quality teachers. This is the first time in my life that I hear somebody saying there is too many teachers.
No, too many people who want to be teachers. It's really a really valued profession. Like salaries are good. It's a position which is well valued, and so there's a lot of people who want to be that. And actually, one thing which had been I don't know what's a current political situation and the financing about education at the moment, I'm not sure, but before the rule was that the same quality of education would be offered to all Finns. So whether you live in Lapland or you live in Helsinki, the level of education should be as good. So that's also the whole thing behind it, the equality between the quality of education being provided to Finns. And that's also one reason why the PISA results were good, because good teachers were everywhere. They were not just, in Helsinki, but everywhere. So everybody's given a chance at being good. But I need to look into, because there's a book about this and it's super interesting. It tells about how teachers are trained, the story behind education being so good and so forth. And it's really interesting because it concerns us so much.
Oh, please send it to me. I would definitely need to take a look at that, because this is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the reason what we are discussing in Czech is that the teachers are not paid enough.
Yeah.
Thus, it's not a high valued profession. Thus, not lack or lack of high quality teachers is.
But then again, now you see that they might be. I think there are cuts coming everywhere. Like for instance, ammattiopisto, so the professional, like the professional high school sort of thing. They're having a lot of cuts, so that means that there won't be too many students going there and not enough teachers and so forth, and that directly influences the quality and employment and so forth. But maybe I won't go to that topic. But there's a lot of cuts happening, so it may get worse, and I find it very worrying that they're sort of like decreasing the finances for teachers and for education in general, because that's going to increase the number of students in each group, which means every single student will get less attention, and that will go worse and worse.
And do you know why they are doing these cuts?
Well, probably because budget is not looking good, and because things are going
as of state level cuts.
Yeah, state level, yeah.
And so they said that they need to do the budget cuts because of did they specify?
Well, I'm not maybe
okay.
up to level with everything
with
the financial situation at the moment, but and the whys and everything. But I know that a lot of things have been cut. Like if you look at healthcare in Finland at the moment, they're having huge cuts as well, and increases in costs, and VAT is increasing, and other things are increasing. So there's like we have to pay back what we are due. Like the Finnish state has been having financial difficulties, so now we're seeing the repercussions of that now.
That debt, yeah.
So of course,
State
and unfortunately, who's paying for that? Then of course we see that in healthcare, then in also education and so forth. Like for instance, in bigger cities, daycares have got huge groups for kids, which is crazy. Like I don't know who can take care of many small kids at the same time, but in Kokkola, I think we're still in a blessed situation where we are able to have like reasonable sized groups where kids get full attention. Well, not full attention because there's still many children in the group, but that's also very important. Every single kid and child and student is seen individually as a person who's worthwhile, who has value. And I think that's something which is important here in Finland. And when you ask me about comparing with France, in France, I think it was very sort of bipolar in a way, that you have like the teachers and the education system, and then you have the group of students. And then here you they know your name. I don't know if many teachers in France knew my name in university. Like we had these huge classrooms, these amphitheatres, where there were like hundreds of students. And we just walked in, we could see a teacher somewhere there, walk out, have the exam, and that's it. But whereas here you have like this dialogue and discussion and everything. And
how big is University of Vasa?
It's quite big because it also has PhD, so it has bachelor, master's, PhD. So it's quite big.
Talking about like 10 to 20,000
I would
students.
Say, yeah.
And so how does that go? Because I hear you, and I believe that this is amazing, right? I was so flabbergasted when we came here as the Erasmus students, right? And in Czech, I have a friend who's studying law in Czech, and he tells me that I have a website, that he has a website with titles, because the teachers have so many titles before and after the names. And when you're writing them an email, you have to address them correctly. So you have to know the value of the titles. So he has a page which has like a hierarchical value of the titles, so he can address them correctly, so he doesn't offend anybody, right? Which is a common thing in universities.
Wow.
And you should be addressing them as like Mr. Professor, whatever, right? And then we came here and we were having the introduction 15 minutes of heads of all the degrees as the Erasmus students, and Jari stormed in and he was like, "Hi, I'm head of IT. I'm Jari. Call me Jari. If you're gonna call me Isani on the hallway, I will most likely not even respond. Any questions?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean? Like, do I call you by first name? That's crazy."
But in a way, I think that's difficult for somebody who's been raised in a society where you are used to this hierarchy?
Well, point being that this is amazing and I like it. It's as just as you say, it's difficult. A lot of you know it from your for yourself, especially from the third world countries. The students, even me when I had the workshops, they were my classmates, and I got emails like, "Dear Mr. Samuel," right?
No.
So it's hard for some people, but my point is that I can see why this is possible in Centria, right? Because this is a very small university, quote unquote, very small. So it is, I don't know, there's 200 employees or something. So it is sort of still kind of possible to have most of the people know most of the people, right? Whilst I cannot see how this is really possible, or is this really possible on this level of familiarity in a university which is like 50,000 students?
Well, I think it was the same in Vasa. I mean, I graduated from there 10 years ago, so I can't remember exactly, but for sure it wasn't as stiff maybe as what you had in Czech Republic. And in Oulu, it was also very like easygoing.
Because it definitely helps, and at least for me, because I'm a fairly communicative person, so it's much easier for me to start a conversation with somebody like, hey, hi, how are you doing, right? And on top of that, English is very easy in this sense, because you don't have the formal versus informal. So yeah, but this is really a topic that is hard to grasp politically, I mean, because we should fund our teachers and let them, also the amount of bureaucracy versus the amount of rationale is wildly different in between Czech and here. Like in Czech, everything you have to fill out this form, and this is the procedure, and you have to follow the procedure. Whilst here you come and I have an idea. Well, that's a pretty good idea. Well, let's talk about it, right?
But then again, where do innovations take place?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying this is just
this is
amazing and amazing and amazing. And also, I heard about you were saying that there is like that teachers are prestigious job. So that's a very huge factor in this, and the autonomy of the teachers. But I also heard that, because when you say that there is a universal level of,
they have to be a master level, and basically you have to have a higher degree than the one you're teaching. So for instance, for bachelor level studies, you'll only have masters teaching you. And they have to have also pedagogical studies passed. So they have to have been, studying the field, how to teach, and then also they have to be able to sort of know their topic. And for instance, in the University of Applied Sciences, they also should have experience from the field they're teaching. So for instance, in the nursing program, the people have been having their hands in the body of a patient, and they know what they're talking about. They know what it feels like when somebody's giving birth, or when they have to save someone, and I think that adds to the credibility, and that makes it like really, I don't know, how much better could it be?
But my point is that when you have a certain level of knowledge that the students have to acquire in order to, pass, I don't know, high school, elementary school, whatever, especially in high school, I would say, when there is like a limit in order to achieve that, there is gonna be people falling behind.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I believe, at least I heard, that in Finland it's mandatory to have a high school degree, that you have to finish
you
high
have
school.
to study until you're 18.
But you don't have to have
it doesn't have to be the high school diploma. It can be also this other vocational
vocational
studies, for instance.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm aiming. I'm trying to kind of figure
Yeah.
out what because I hear vocational schools being the word being thrown around a lot, but I kind of really grasp what it
So
means.
vocational study is like actually next to Kokkola, next to Centria, we have KP Edu, which is a vocational college for this area, and they train for specific professions. So, for instance, welders, car repairers, hairdressers, all these very practical nurses and all these things. And the amazing thing in Finland is that, for instance, to come to university or University of Applied Sciences, you can come from that field, from the vocational studies also. So it gives you eligibility. You can study to become a hairdresser and you'll be able to study business studies after that because you'll acquire a certain level of skills. You have to take the entrance exam, but basically you have the eligibility, which I think is also amazing that, for instance, in France, it's very divided. Either you go the traditional high school and then you go to university, or you go to the vocational where you're a bit not that smart and not good. Not that good. But for instance, I know many people who have, for instance, been at a University of Applied Sciences because they're better at, there's more practical aspects of things. They started to get super excited about studies and now they're doing a PhD, And that's maybe, I think you had this topic also with Janne, that the path is never straight. And I think it's really embraced here in Finland that, okay, you can take, plot twist. I'll do that. I'm allowed to do that. Nobody's telling you like, at that step, you selected the wrong one. You cannot go forwards. It's keep moving forwards, maybe in a different direction, but you still get to move forwards, which I think is cool. I'm not sure if I really answered now the question, but so vocational studies, it's really professional in a specific field.
So what I was pointing at is that there is going to be different levels of like intelligence of the students, right? So what I was,
or a different background. A different way of learning.
Yeah. I'm not trying to call anybody more stupid than the other, right? But well, it's the world. Somebody is a little slower than somebody else. It's just the way it is, right? And there is nothing wrong with that. But how you handle that in a so my understanding was that it is so for somebody, let's say, ambitious, hardworking, or very smart naturally, that person is most likely going to go through the way of high school, and so the now it's leaning towards a question a little bit. Going to the high school, and then he's gonna have like a quote unquote a little like a higher valued degree, and he's going to go to university, while somebody who is maybe, for example, doesn't expect from life too much, or wants to have his peace and just wants to do some job for the rest of his life, which is also of course fine, will rather go through vocational school and then decide whether they want to or not go to...
I wouldn't be maybe that black and white, because I wouldn't sort of be sort of like labeling people in terms of like their skills, their abilities. They can be super, super smart, but they just want to be a plumber, because a plumber is going to do a heck of money-wise. So, I mean, I think that's an amazing decision. But, like, if you, like, I think... there surely are people who rate people on the value of their like high school. Like, did they get a high school diploma, or did they go through the vocational path? And there surely are people who are rating this. But what I was trying to say is that even though they have a different sort of like end of compulsory education path, if we call it like that, regardless of that, they still have all their options awaiting them, and they can then progress. I know that there's one way of going to university based on your high school diploma with the grades, and you might get direct access to university. For instance, if you've had a good high school diploma with specific grades, you don't need to take an entrance exam. So there's a bit of this rating happening there, but the door is open.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sort of answers my question, I guess. Yeah. Well, enough of education. Maybe enough of education. How was it? How was the transition to going to... So it's at least for me, it was a very different experience, the exchange and actually living here, because on exchange you're a little more carefree, clubbing here and there, and well, most of it is clubbing, and going around the country and having fun with the friends from the Erasmus. Whilst when you're here as a person, you have to make money and pay your rent and pay your food and stuff. So it's a very different experience. So how was this sort of a transition for you?
Yeah, for sure, it was a big step, because of course I was living at home when I still lived in France. So then I had to become independent completely here in Finland, and then start building my network. That was also the big thing. Like in France, you have your childhood friends and everyone were in your home country, and then when you change country, then it's like new people. And Finns are maybe not the most, who take you along. But I was super lucky, because the summer I was working here, I was adopted by one of my friends, and she took me along to everything, her family events and everything. And she taught me Finnish, in a sense that I did know some Finnish beforehand, but she spoke only Finnish to me. And so she really enabled me in a way to stay, because she was speaking only Finnish. And that made my Finnish level, level up. And that was maybe a deal breaker. And also the fact that when you have somebody who's showing you around.
Sorry, just a quick question.
Yeah.
What was the level of your Finnish where you were like, okay, now we can start to try to talk only in Finnish?
The thing is that when I came here, I didn't know how to read or write in Finnish. And so I didn't write any emails or anything. I could speak, and I made mistakes. I could understand, but I spoke with a very strong accent and things like that.
Okay, so you already could sort of speak.
I could speak somewhat, because my mom had been speaking some Finnish to us, but it was very limited. Like I did not know how to read or write and things like that.
Yeah, well, the point I'm getting on is that now I'm learning Finnish as well, right? And I'm also, my vision is that when I'm at a certain level, I would like to try to speak to people just in Finnish.
Yeah.
And that will then exponentially grow the language. But I'm kind of looking for the,
Yeah, but I think that won't come from you. That will be someone who will be just like, Samuel, nyt puhutaan suomea. Because that's what I could have, because I had colleagues who shifted always to English. And that didn't make me progress. But I had Eija who was like, nyt mennään kahville, nyt tehdään tätä, now we do this, now we go for coffee, now we speak Finnish. And when you have that person who just doesn't give you the chance, then
I guess I
think that was my...
Yeah, but sorry, I interrupted you. You were saying?
So I was explaining that about settling down.
You were, that she included you in her family matters and everything. Yeah. She brought you up in
and
here.
then really showed me around.
Networking.
And then... So I was given this 1 year contract to work here at Centria, and my goal was then that I would move to Vaasa, because I'd applied to university there. But then eventually I didn't want to leave, because I was working here and I had this income here at Centria, and then my contract was renewed. So so basically what kept me here was then the work, and then of course the friends that I had here. So I did not want to shift back anymore to being a student after having this constant income. And over time, I started to build my roots here, having friends and things like that. But it took its time, I would say.
What about Raisoft? How did you get there?
That's a lot. Eventually, because the current CEO of Raisoft, so Niklas, he used to work at the international office.
Really?
Yeah, he used to be one coordinator, and we used to work together here at Centria. And eventually, he left to work at Raisoft, and they were working on some project to Switzerland, and they needed some pages to be translated into French.
I'm working on the Switzerland project.
You're probably working with Vincent?
No, well, not really, but yeah, I know.
But he's my friend, and I hinted about him to the people at Raisoft,
Really?
because he used to be a nurse. But that's where we all come to, the people you know. And always be positive about other people and push people forwards, because it's always for the best. But yeah, they just asked me if I could help, and I did this as a side gig when I was still working at Centria. So I was translating some pages. I knew nothing about the healthcare, nothing at all.
Yeah, well, it's really Raisoft is an amazing place.
Yeah,
and the environment is really amazing.
Yeah, and it has a lot of international people there. And I used to work with a person called Jose. I'm not sure if he's still there.
Yep.
Oh, cool. And yeah, so I was translating things, and I think I actually went also to Switzerland with them.
Really?
Yeah, so that was a bit like, why am I even here? But I was there anyway. But it was very, very stressful. And yeah, I think Niklas left after that to Ahola, and then, but he came back now, so that's probably great for us.
He started, I think, 2 months ago.
But he's amazing. I think you're gonna have he's really
nice
person.
I have been talking to him on we had a pikkujoulu, and so I've been talking to him there, and he seemed like a very, very nice guy.
His wife is from Canada, so he's also very international. He's been living like in Sweden, Canada, everything. So
we sometimes chat also on the coffee breaks because there is also Lawrence, who is also from the US.
Yeah.
So they are like my corner because I can speak in English with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak in English with anybody, but I don't have to annoy the people to could you please speak in English? I can just sit there with them and chat about. But I'm slowly planning to do the podcasts with them as well.
That's cool.
With all of them as well. I just didn't. Well, I mean, I asked most of them if they would like to, but we didn't agree upon the time and stuff. But Niklas is really nice. Yeah. Well, and then
I've been working with Centria actually for 11 years before I left. So I was like working in the international office for a long time. So with exchange students going in, going out. And that was also a way of extending my student life in a way, because I was welcoming these people who were coming to celebrate, life and enjoy Finland. And they were full of dreams. And with Hubert, we always kind of laughed when they left and they cried because we were like, yes. Mission accomplished. They fell in love with Finland. They fell in love, with life's bigger purpose, that people are really the most important, and the connections they built.
So you've been... Well, how was the transition into international office? What was the deal like? Did you just...
It was so smooth. I
will ask it differently.
Yeah?
Why international office? It's and it's not a position that I haven't even known about such position before I came to Erasmus, right? So it's not a very common place to strive for. So how did you end up there?
If you ask me what I want to do as a kid growing up, I wanted to be either a vet in a zoo or an ambassador. So I think the job I'm doing now is the closest to ambassador as you can get. But actually, as part of my studies in France, I had to do an internship. Something related to languages, international, So I just went to see Peter and said, Peter, I should do an internship. I get an Erasmus grant for it. Can I come back? And that's what I did. So I came back in the summer and I did my internship at the international office, where I was sort of being doing all sorts of secretary work. I prepared a guide for exchange students. All this sort of secretarial planning, organizing activities for students, sort of putting into practice what I had been learning at school, international stuff. And after that, I was offered a job. Hey, we actually would like you to stay. So, because,
I would like to play a little game.
Yeah.
2 games.
No.
Let's start with I'm a person... let's say fluent in languages and with a strong communication, and I don't know what I want to do with my life. Sell me a position of a international office work. How would you when somebody would ask you, what do you like about your job the most, or so in this sense, kind of try to sell me, or what is the good sides, that why do you like this job?
I would say that the most rewarding part of the job is the change that you can do in somebody's life. So, because there's 2 different roles in a way, that there's welcoming those that come to Finland and helping them discover Finland, helping them sort of become settled down, understand Finland better, and sort of spread the word of love about Finland, which I like a lot. But then I've also been in Timo's role, so encouraging also Finnish people to go abroad.
That has to be hard.
It is hard, but it's even more rewarding when you see that somebody who did not at first believe in themselves, in the capacity of them going abroad, actually go abroad and rejoice and feel proud of having been abroad. I've received cards of some students saying thank you so much for helping me this is my dream. I have found my calling. This is what I want to be doing. And I'm not taking the, the glory for that. The student did that. But I was happy to sort of like, do this small thing. And I think that in this line of work, it's not about money. It's not about that. It's about the human growth and that we're creating a better general environment for everyone. And we're doing more than, sending somebody to Spain. We're allowing them to see that the world is a bigger place, that there's differences, there's similarities, but there's different ways of thinking. And the way you think is not the one and only way, that maybe you can change yourself, become a bigger person, accept people, differences, and things like that. So I don't know, that's why I like working in international relations, because it's about people, but it's also about growth. And if I could, I would like to be a teacher in a way, because I like this sort of idea that you're here and you're like, grow, 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 now fly. Because that's the best thing, I think, the international things.
It seems like you really love your job, that you like, you're one of those that wake up and they're like, I get to go to the job. I mean, probably not like in. When the alarm clock rings, it's, I don't know, 6:55, and you're like, oh, then probably not. But you know what I mean, which is amazing. I feel like this is one thing that I have a problem with in Czech Republic, or like in general everywhere, but in Czech Republic I can feel it a lot. That here in Finland people are very nice too, but in Czech Republic I can feel it a lot, because when you go somewhere. I don't know, grocery shop or whatever. It can be anything, car mechanic, or it doesn't matter. And then you talk to the person and they're like, what do you want? And they're like kind of angry that you're wanting something from them,
no.
right? That you kind of like, that they're pissed at their job, that they have to do the job, right? And I feel like everybody should do whatever they want. Like, if you want to do something else, then go do something else. If this job is not for you, don't do it.
Yeah, but then again, I think it's not always that easy.
I think it's...
But it is. But of course, like, you cannot stay behind that it's not easy. Either you do something or you don't complain about it, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's my point, is that like, if you're a cashier and you're pissed being a cashier, either don't show it or go do something about it. Like, don't be angry at me doing my groceries because you don't like your job, but you are not gonna do anything about it, is my point. But anyways, coming back to it, this is that it's very nice, and I love to see when people are like happy in their job, and they are like, I do this because I like this. The money is just a benefit, like, quote unquote, right?
But actually, like, I did this exchange stuff for like 8-ish years. After that, I was in the marketing communication department, where I was sort of doing this student recruitment. So I went to fairs, and that's also something that I love. I love to go, like, be on a fair and like, hey, do you want to come to Centria? This sort of thing, both in Finland and abroad, because that's super cool. And after that, I went to work in a project in the field of tourism. So I left Centria and I went to try my wings in a different field, because if you don't try, you'll never know. And that was also quite interesting. But then COVID hit. So tourism and COVID, that meant that project ended. But that was that. And then but like, looking backwards, everything had a meaning, because that made me leave Centria to see also what's out there. And then at that time, so my project ended after COVID, and I started to work on my second master's degree, which was in education entrepreneurship. And I wrote my thesis on social integration of international students here in Kokkola, because that's a topic I'm very interested in. And I was presenting the importance of social integration at Kokkola International Day. So speaking in front of people to say that it's like, social ties are what create integration, and you should keep that in mind when you're speaking about, attracting people here. Don't just attract them, keep them here. So that was one really important thing. And after that, then I went to work for some private company in the field of education, and then eventually my path led me back to Centria. But like everything I did before that gave me new ways of thinking, and like I feel I have loads of stuff in my suitcases that I can then use now, and that's what life is about. You learn things and you grow and you become a new person, and now I'm here.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm very, like, looking backwards, I'm so happy about this. And so just to quote this dude called Steve Jobs, it's only looking backwards that you sort of like realize why you ended up here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I heard that he was a quite wise dude.
Yeah, but that's actually one like thing that sort of resonates with me over the years. That often it's good to look backwards to see that like this is why this happened like that. Even though in some situations you're going to be super disappointed that I'm not getting what I want, but maybe it's because something else is happening, and maybe you need to look at things through a different lens, and maybe you just have to just keep pushing forwards and see what is the next door that's going to open. So, yeah. Not usually this positive, but I try to be.
No, you should be. You should be. You should be. Spread positivity.
Yeah.
Then the second game I wanted to play
sure.
is pretty much the same, but now I'm a student interested in exchange, and I want you to sell me the exchange.
You just want to come and exchange or full-time studies?
Full-time study. Let's say full-time study.
Okay. So, no, that's...
Well, okay. And one more thing. I'm very shy, and I'm not sure if I can do it. I'm like, it would be nice, but I think it's not for me because I feel like I'm not good enough for that.
Okay, I understand
to
that
make
you can.
It easy.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, but do you know already what field of study you would be interested in?
Let's say business. That's gonna be the most general.
But if you're interested in business, and if you're interested in learning by doing things, if you like to have like case studies where you really see the example, like you see how is a decision made, or how do you come up with a solution or create a new idea, that's going to be studying at a University of Applied Sciences could be for you in that case, because it's not only sitting in a classroom and listening to somebody, which could be easy when you're shy because you don't have to have that much output, but this is a small circle of people who just care for you to succeed. Nobody is here judging you like, okay, Samuel, you didn't do good on this one. It's more like, hey, okay, Samuel, so we had this task. How do you think we could do this? And we only want you to succeed. And like, for instance, Centria's motto is, well, not the motto, but one of the red lines is, your career is our goal. So we're not here to sort of just, have numbers. We're here so that you study well and you succeed. So we're going to support you all along the way. We have super services like career services with Jyrki, who's here to sort of ask you like, what kind of job do you want to do? Hey, have you heard about these things in the area? This is how you apply for a job, So you're not alone on that one. You have Sofia with integration services, who's here to sort of help with anything related to life in Kokkola or in Pietarsaari or Ilivieska. Like, this is how you settle down. This is where you can find hobbies, where you can meet people. And whilst you feel that you're shy, and that's totally accepted because, hey, welcome, this is Finland, where people are usually shy, nobody's going to complain about that. And I think that's really an asset of Finland, is nobody's judging you like, okay, he's the shy guy, he's that one, that one's that one. No, you're allowed to come as you are. And now I think my explanation was very like in every direction, but the way of studying is very personalized. So the teachers and the team will kind of like follow your lead also on that one, and will encourage you to sort of come out of your shell, because that's also working life nowadays. To some extent, you do have to be in touch with people. Of course, you can also be a consultant behind your screen and not really speak with people, and that's fine. But to some extent, you have to be able to sort of communicate, and you'll be practicing that here.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
But I'm also scared about going abroad. It's for a long time, and I'm not sure if I can do it.
Well, first of all, this is not the official Centria line, but my advice is that nobody's tying you down here. So if after a while you feel like this is not your thing, you can always go back home. First of all, even though you might feel the pressure of back home saying like, oh no, you can't come back. But when you come here, it's really a homey environment. It's kind of everything is close by. you'll be close, you'll find your bubble here. And there's so many international students here that you'll easily find your clan, your group of people, and everybody is in the same situation. And I think that when you have people who you can relate to, people who are also taking the plunge, leaving their home country and coming here, it suddenly doesn't feel that bad. Because you see, like, everybody is going through the same emotions, the same homesickness, the same difficulties, and you can share this weight, and suddenly you'll start to feel at home here. And though it's a big step, you'll take it, and you'll be standing on both of your feet here in Finland, and you'll be comfortable here at home in Finland. So you can truly do that.
Here at home in Finland. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, my point is why I wanted to do this is because I feel like especially in France, I believe that in France most of the universities are private, right? Or like a big
50,
portion,
50.
50-50, okay.
50-50. And there's actually a lot of also university conglomerations, like they work together, so they're quite big, the universities, and there's private schools also.
Yeah, and so I heard at least that most of the private schools have compulsory Erasmus or like a exchange.
Some programs have, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because that, in my opinion, is the way. Like I love it. I 100% also understand that it's not possible for everybody, right? Somebody just doesn't have the financial freedom to do so, right? And even though you get a quite nice grant, like you spend 80% of it on housing, so you still have to have some money on top of that. So it's not possible for everybody. Though there are people that I would force them to do it. If you are financially able to do it, and it's not that expensive, it is pretty much as living anywhere. You should do it, even though if you don't want to, because.
But then again, like I know there are some programs like that which have a compulsory Erasmus, but you make the decision when you apply to that program. If it's mentioned that, hey, in your studies you will have to go abroad, then you have to sort of go with it. And there are some programs like that also in Finland where it's like compulsory to go abroad. But if you're not comfortable going abroad, then don't apply to those programs.
I think that even if you're not 100% comfortable, you still should try to do it, because the worst case scenario is exactly what you mentioned, right? You come there, you're like, this is not for me, and you just go home. No harm done whatsoever, right? And people don't keep this in mind. It's not like you're not dropping your lifetime, your past life behind you and saying Hakuna Matata, right? It's just a sort of a tryout. And I believe that more people should try to go for exchange, because just as we mentioned.
But I think one issue at least that we notice here at Centria is that we have a lot of students who are studying kind of part-time. So people are working and they're part-time. So they're basically already in this adult phase of their life where they have maybe a more expensive house, they have a car, or they have some loans that they have to pay for, So it's different when you're like a full-time student, where you can just you just go and study elsewhere. But if you're already like studying and working, then it's a bit different. But I'm not saying it's an excuse, because I know a lot of people who have just said like, then I put the work on pause, I sort my things out, and I go abroad. Because at the end of the day, it's a question of will. Do you want to go or not?
Yeah, well, my point is that in this sense, it's good to go for the Erasmus so you can try it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then it becomes difficult if you really want to do it, right? I also have to work part-time. I don't know, I do whatever, 20-25 hours a week working, so I can pay my rent, I can pay my food and stuff, right? So it's not easy. You have to be doing stuff, right? It's like the world is not gonna fall into your lap for free, but that's the point of the exchange, for you to try it out. And maybe, because I feel like a lot of people think of it more as a long-term vacation, right? whilst I feel like it's more of a, you know, a tryout of how do you enjoy the environment.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, if you are 100% confident that you want to stay where you are, you can use it as a vacation, right? But people should be aware of the possibility of like, you know, testing out, dipping your toe in a different culture and see whether it's something that might interest you.
But definitely, like when we were advertising exchange possibilities, like there are different reasons to go. Of course, your language skills. You're going to learn to think maybe in a different language, talk with different people, and get more confident. You know, like when you realize, like, heck, I did that. I lived in China for half a year, or I did that. Like, it's just superpower, you know, that you gain for yourself. But of course, the language skills that you get, and also the people that you meet. There are so many different people from different nationalities, and over the years of working in the international office, I saw also these people who created their networks, their friends, and now there's like these former Centria exchange students who are throughout the world or in Europe, and they meet still, they attend each other's weddings, or, you know, like it doesn't stop after this one semester. It keeps on growing and it becomes something that has so much value. Like, for instance, if you're looking for work, maybe you can ask some advice from somebody in that country. Or
I was spending last New Year's for a week. We have been in Lévignon in France, near Grenoble, with the exchange students, because one of them, her like, I don't know, some aunt or whatever, had a cottage in the Alps, and so for a week we had a cottage. There was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 of us.
so cool.
And we were like going skiing and partying, and with people that were like, you know, Belgium, Italy, Austria, from all around Europe. And you're like, this is so crazy. Like, I'm talking to people that if I would have continued my way in Czech, I would have never even had a chance to meet, right?
Exactly.
And now we are like a really, really good group of friends. And I always joke about it that when I plan my vacations, I have, for upcoming 7 years, I have pre-planned vacations, because I have to visit that friend in Spain, that one in Italy, that one in France, right? So it's
But that's what Erasmus does in a nutshell. It helps you create your network. And like, I know that a few of my former students have had kids. I remember meeting one of my French exchange students who was here before. I met him in Shanghai and we had a talk when I was having a work trip there. Like, you know, like this network that you build, and it's so valuable, especially in today's work where connections are everything. So
very much true. Very much true. What about hobbies, or how does your life outside of Centria look like?
Well, at the moment, since I have very small kids, it's very family oriented, but a lot of outdoorsy stuff. That's something that I really like to do, and taking a lot of pictures of life and the world around us. And currently planning a big family trip to France also.
Ah,
so that's
to visit family?
Well, actually, I only have my brother living there anymore, so this is going to be a bit of a like flying solo with the kids going there to discover France. But what about you? What kind of hobbies do you have here in Kokkola?
I don't have much hobbies because I don't have much time for hobbies.
Likewise.
Yeah, well, it's that. Well, I mean, this podcasting is one of the hobbies now, so I try to do that on the weekends when I have some spare time. But it's quite difficult because I have school and then work to support myself. Now I have to write thesis as well, then the capstone project. So I'm already like, I'm just counting my hours, like pre-planning the upcoming couple of months with my hours wise. And I have to work about like 10 hours a day, 7 days a week in order to manage everything. So it's gonna be a little tough, but otherwise I have a girlfriend. She's a Swedish speaking Finn from Pietarsaari. I think I said that already. And I do judo. It's probably the only like quote unquote consistent hobby of mine. otherwise I have a million hobbies, right? I'm like, I don't know, coding or reading or doing puzzles or modeling or whatever, right? But plastic modeling, not in the front of a mirror. But I just don't do these activities much because
Did you
there's
do
not a lot
this
of time.
judo before you came to Finland, or did you take it on here?
No, yeah, I used to do judo. Well, I started when I was 6 and stopped when I was 15, I think, so 9-ish years. Because I was going to high school to a new city and it was a bigger club, more competition oriented. So I was scared that I wouldn't be good enough, and a kid. So I stopped, which was one of the things that I kind of regret, but it is what it is. And now when I came to the exchange here, I was like, you know what? Is there a judo club in here? I would like to try again. Like, it
That's
would
so
be
cool.
fun, right? I don't even know how I came up with the idea. And so I was like, oh, let's try again. And I fell into the Budo club here with absolutely amazing people. Timo is still my coach. I had him on the second podcast. All of them really, really helpful with a lot of stuff. And apart from that, also very, very nice within the club that we have. Basically, I came there and I was like, do you mind if I would join? And like, I don't have anything, right? And I don't have money to buy stuff. So they're like, here is a gi, like the judo jacket, and come train with us. You're a student, you don't have to pay anything.
That's cool.
And so now we do it in a way that like I'm taking care of the websites in exchange for the membership. And I started competing again.
That's cool.
And I'm starting to try to do some. I'm trying to get back to sort of a competition level judo a little bit. It's hard because I have this 7 years or almost 10 years of gap there, whilst
you're
the
catching
others
back then.
whilst the
Yeah.
others were still working out or like doing judo. And it's hard to catch up now when I also have a job and school,
Yeah,
right? If I would have to do judo all day long, then I would be very happy. But that's the hobby that I focus on the most, I guess. But I actually like I don't feel like I need any hobbies or anything, because the stuff that I do as of school and work is stuff that I enjoy. So for me, it in a way it is a hobby. So I like when I say that I work, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours a day.
It doesn't
It
feel
sounds
like
it
that,
sounds
yeah.
terrible, but for me it's like I'm going to bed and I'm like, I'm tired, but it was fun. It was fun day. I had done a lot of things. I learned some new stuff, right? So it's I do it because I like it. Nobody forces me to do anything, right? I could just as easily drop out of school, work for Isoft full time, and do that for the rest of my life if I wanted to. But I have a little higher ambitions than that. So I'm not saying that I will quit at Isoft, at least
But
not
everything
anytime
has its
soon.
own time.
But yeah, exactly. And I have much more that I want to try out as well. It's now I'm doing coding for Isoft, and I want to shift in masters. I want to shift towards data science. So like a little kind of like all data scientists will be like, no, don't say that. But I will say that it's kind of like data analytics, but a little more coding into it. But anyways, a little more mathematics there.
Okay. Because I wanted to ask, like, in my experience, anything related to hobbies or like being with people is something that helps you build your network. And I'm very interested into this social integration that, like, it's not only about work, it's not only about school, but also the people who recognize you as being part of the society here. And that's why I really appreciate that you're like in Budo. You probably have like your friends there, your network, people who recognize you, like as a member of the society. And I would love for everybody who's coming here that they find their own clan. It doesn't have to be a sport. It doesn't have to be, but just something that they find that they belong to some small club or something, a team of friends or something maybe outside of the school, because that's otherwise a very small bubble. And when people graduate, it bursts and then you don't have that bubble. But it should extend, outside of school, this sort of place where people who have similar, something, something more.
I was talking about this before Christmas on the extremely long and boring presentation of mine, and I feel like the three places to search for that is school, which is the obvious, but then work environment and sports. And sports rather hobbies, right? Could be hiking, could be, I don't know, chess. Do whatever you feel like, right?
Exactly.
Doesn't have to be a martial art necessarily, but a community of people, whether it's, I don't know, playing Magic the Gathering, or going out for runs or something. These are like sort of three pillars that I have now friends and like people that I talk to here in Centria. In my case, mostly staff, but but some students as well, of course. Then I have friends from the office where we work. Sometimes I could probably text some of them and say like, yeah, let's go for a beer or something, right? And but then I have the judo club, which was for me the biggest, where I have people that I sometimes go to their place for a coffee and we chat their family table, and they help me out with other stuff, and it's the judo club is really far away, and during the winter I cannot bike because biking there it would be fine, but biking back when I'm all sweaty from the practice, I would be sick all the time. So they're driving me there as well.
Cool.
So it's absolutely amazing, and I feel like that even the exchange students should try to do some sport, because especially here in Finland, the people will most likely accept you even if you're an Erasmus student. We had several people that I brought to the judo club that were going to the judo just for the time of the exchange, and it just helps you to build, exactly just like you say, networks. And
actually, back in the days, the Budo place used to be in the center at Snellmankatu.
Really?
I often hear about the old gym was nicer.
Really?
It was in the center. At least the
did not know
karate
that.
was there, but I believe the judo was there also. But
Yeah, most likely they were, until recently they were well, actually I was taking the websites
from my husband.
from your husband. Yeah.
He designed it, and
Well, I have to. It was used a very particular like a tool for creating the websites, which I'm not very familiar with, so it's a little harder to use it. But for me at least, but it was a very peaceful and easygoing handover. Yeah. I appreciate it.
I actually met my husband here, of course, because everything happens at Centria.
Everything, Centria.
He came to repair my laptop.
Really? That's that's an interesting excuse.
Yeah, and here we are now. And then we both left Centria eventually, and so forth.
And he was working in the
IT help desk.
And so one probably last topic for the day. Of course, if you want to ask me anything, we can go on any conversation path you wish, but at least from what I wanted to talk about. How about your future ambitions?
That's a good one. To be honest, I feel like the past 6 years have been so rich in events. So that means changing jobs, 3 times, 1 degree, 2 kids, buying a house, getting married. Like, in a way, I feel like now I need a rest. But I want to have a PhD eventually one day. That's only because my brother has got 2. No, because I want to, because well, actually, this is a very interesting topic. The thing is that I'm a developer in the sense that I want to change things. I do not stand still and wait for the world to change. I want to be part of the change. But how do I do that? Do I study and create a thesis around the way I think things should go? Or do I go into politics? What do I do? Do I become a teacher? And the thing is, for sure I want to be active in being, you know, this agent of change. But I'm still maybe figuring out on what is the best way of doing that. I am in the town of Kokkola in the Council for Multicultural Affairs. So I'm speaking there in favor of international students. I'm trying to make Kokkola a better place for internationals in general, that the services are more accessible for all, that, for instance, integration services should consider also the 500 international students we get each year, for instance. You know, that there's so many people coming here that you have to keep them here. But then how do I change this? Really is still maybe what's open to me. But probably studies, maybe one day we'd live in France or in a different country. Maybe I'll have my own consulting company or something.
We were sorry, then you can let you continue with what the ambitions are. But I was sort of asking about this around here and trying to pitch it to a couple of people. And I don't think I'm willing to dig into that because I just have so much going on that I would not be able to time-wise manage it. But when I was in Pilsen, in my study city in Czech, and also in Denmark, where my friend from my high school, we were like very good friends, one of the best friends of mine, he moved to Denmark, to Copenhagen, and so I visited him, and they had it there as well. It was like I don't know how to call it. It was like a hub or like a station. Actually, the one in Copenhagen was called the station, and it was basically like offices, open offices, mainly occupied by just random students. It was like a place that they did a lot of both of these places. They did a lot of events, so different presentations from companies, startup networking events. You know, that they gather a couple of speakers, then they do some small buffet, and then just invite a lot of people in there. And then some of the people were working for the hub. So some of the students were part-time working for the hub. Some of them for free, some of them paid. Which allowed them to use the facility and clean the facility and maintain it and help out planning those events and stuff. I don't exactly particularly know what was the business behind it, like what was the business model behind it, because I'm not really sure how this was maintained financially.
Was it sustainable? Yeah.
That's why I didn't do it here yet, because I didn't figure out how would this be financially sustainable. I believe that some of them might have been doing also some software solutions.
There might be some projects behind it also.
Yeah, I believe that the ones in our city in Czech might have been doing, again, not sure, but might have been doing that. They were then outsourcing the students to do some of the projects. Of course, supervised by some seniors, but to work on the projects. And on top of that, of course, they were doing it as a office rental. So if people needed some office spot, they just paid some fee monthly, and they could come there, and they had their own table with a monitor that they could plug in and work there, right? So that was, I guess, that was the business model, but there was not a lot of people renting those places out, so there had to be something else as well. But also there was, so for the events, there was some funding from the companies that were showing up there, and sometimes even some like fairs with companies, hunting for people. Point being, it was basically like a facility connecting established companies, startups, and students, creating this big networking environment where the students were hanging out after school, talking to the people working there, trying to help out with stuff, going for those events and listening to different presentations on different topics, right? And I feel like this is exactly what is missing in here. In this sense, if there would be somebody, wink wink, would be willing to make like a project where they would, once or twice a month they would do some presentation, assemble people.
There might be something in the works in the background, but no, I don't know. I think one very important thing is always to voice your ideas and try to set, a lot of sparks. get the sparks flying, because you never know what can happen. Because when you speak out loud, there might be like the other people around you who are like, I thought about the same thing. Like now, for instance, we start to speak about it and it becomes a bigger thing. And when you share the sparks, then they become bigger fires. And there's a lot of people who are really passionate about this topic and want to make things about this. Centria has got big projects, or like the project volume at Centria is very big compared to other universities in Finland. And this could be something that Centria could maybe apply money for. They could apply for a project related to this. They have been in different cities what we call international houses. So sort of hubs for internationals where they have similar activities, but also like career counseling, integration stuff, those sort of things happening. And with Sofia, we've been dreaming of having our own international Kokkola house. That has not yet been created. But definitely there's a lot still to do in Kokkola. And especially in terms of people coming together. And maybe having a place where that happens also after school. Because I was thinking when you were talking that actually that's something that takes place at Centria, but it's like daytime in the morning, there'll be a session and then everybody disappears. But there could be some place where these people could get together also like after school and maybe have, you know, like collab spaces, or if they have like an entrepreneurial idea, if they could meet up with somebody who's, you know, guiding students on how to create your own company and things like that. They could go there and meet with people guiding. There could be companies who are like wanting to expand to a specific country, or I don't know, like sort of like taking out what's happening here and extending it towards the city center. Because sometimes I feel that there's like a geographical divide between what happens on campus and the rest of the world in Kokkola, whereas it should be kind of, you know, mixed, because all the people here are inhabitants of Kokkola and they're participating in the society and the economy and so forth. So
no, that's exactly my point, that those hubs were both like outside of school. Those were like independent,
so it should be somewhere in the center.
Independent sort of like non-profit organizations who were you know, what is it called? Collaborating, thank you, with the schools, attracting the students onto the events and onto the grounds, which I believe that you should talk about this with Sofia.
No, but I know that there's like, this is a topic which is very important, and especially when we talk about attracting people coming to Kokkola, we should as much or even more consider the aspect of retaining these people in Kokkola. Because people might come here, have a look, walk out the same way they came. And that's why there's things, everything should be in order here. There should be the services, there should be the hubs, there should be the connections, there should be like everything should be also ready for people to settle down and root themselves here and not fight through stone and ice to get a small bit of roots in the ground. Because it's not that easy.
Definitely. Definitely. I encourage you, and I'm willing to help if needed, if you will pursue some project like that. Well, anyways, I interrupted you when you were talking about your ambitions. So one of them being PhD and possibly
maybe a PhD or just
helping out students here.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like,
you also said something about teaching.
Yeah, maybe teaching. I think I would like, because I would like to study more, but I don't know, do I want to go towards a PhD or do I want to go towards, you know, the pedagogical teaching line?
Why not both?
I'm not even sure what I would teach, you know, I just like to sort of be there and do things with people.
Why not both?
I don't know. One thing at a time.
Of course,
That's the
but,
thing,
but one thing at a time, you can do one and then the second one.
Exactly. But to be honest, like, I am ambitious and I'm very proud of where I am at now, and I'm not saying that I don't want to grow anymore, but I'm happy here and I keep on doing things and I keep on going forwards. And yeah, I maybe I want to start my company one day, whatever, but as long as I want the same as last year with more travels. Like, I'm just very satisfied with things, but yet moving forwards. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Look, you seem happy where you are, and that spreads positive energy. So I believe that whether you are doing exactly what you wanted or not, I feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do. So just keep on digging, soldier.
Yeah, but like
But
to be honest, like I know what it is to be in the bad place when you're feeling down. I've been on sick leave because I was like burnt out. I've like experienced that, and actually this year I was speaking with a life coach just to discuss like, okay, I was kind of lost. I'm like, where should I be going? And just like talking with someone is often the right way, also finding your own way. Somebody who's questioning you, like, have you thought of, like, what are you thinking about? What do you want? And being forced to question things is okay. And like, it's really good for you. And actually, the most important thing that she told me is that you're never on a fixed plan. You are always allowed to change your mind, and you're always allowed to rewrite your story and to have a plot twist and to sort of like accept the good things that come on your path and make you sort of grow your path and go forward. So
in Czech there is a saying that or I don't know, it's not even a saying. I probably just me and my family we say it, but plans are made so they can fuck up. So you have something that can fuck up, you know. And so I've had several plans, and I have altered my plans several times because they just you know, you move on and
and
stuff
you learn,
happens.
you get new sort of tools to make new decisions based upon those experiences and and
Exactly.
yeah.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking everybody before they leave. Do you have any advice or any like motto, or you know, advice is probably a better word, to people listening, that how do you live your life, or that helps you in being happy?
Actually, if I can answer in the long way, being happy is something that we've been talking a lot about with my husband, about how it's really something inside you that you create. So you cannot expect it from coming from something exterior. And I would say that learn to develop gratitude. Sort of when you realize what you have, how good these things are, that you're healthy, that you have a roof above your head and things like that. Those are like count your blessings. They can be as small as, you know, as they can be, but just rejoice about the small things and count your blessings for that. Because somebody maybe, like, you can't compare yourself and say like somebody else might not have what you have now, but it is actually a reality, and you might have more than you had yesterday. Remember to look backwards and see how far you've come, and don't compare yourself to others, in the sense that if somebody has got a huge house and things like that, well, what if? Do you have what you want? And question yourself on what it is that you want. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have a motto? Or are you gathering everybody's motto to make a summary?
I very naively asked this question without having an answer for it, but well, I'll just extend on what you were saying, and then I will come back to your question. One thing that I heard, I don't remember, somebody said it somewhere on the internet, was that if you would take all the bad stuff that's happening in your life and you would put it on a pile in front of you with all the people that you know, putting their piles, you would very quickly take your pile and run away. And it's exactly to what you're saying. And another thing also connected to it, I was listening to Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist, and he was explaining that basically you can kind of trick yourself a little bit when you have something unpleasant to do. Like, it doesn't have to be like very unpleasant. It can be just like a little bit like, the dishes, you know, or something, right? If you are like constantly pursuing yourself from inwards, like, you know what, I love doing dishes, you know, if you're like,
Yay,
if
more
you're
dishes.
like, exactly, you're kind of like lying to yourself, it to a certain degree becomes true. And I've noticed that
But that's true.
when there is something that I'm not like really happy, it's a little bit tedious and I don't really want to do it. When I'm like doing it and I'm like, okay, let's do it because I want to do it, because you know, and I'm trying to empower myself, then after a little period of time doing that thing, I'm like, you know what, this is actually not really that bad. Like, I'm actually kind of liking it.
But that's the power of your mind also.
Exactly.
When you tell yourself that I can do this, I enjoy this, and well, suddenly it feels less bad.
So yeah, just be aware that there is always somebody who has it much worse than
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and be aware that mind is a powerful tool to
Exactly.
make your situation look better than it might actually be. For a motto, if I have a motto, I don't like. Well, actually, my like very dear motto to me is basically a yin yang, because it says that in everything good there is something
Yeah.
a little bad, and in everything really bad there is something a little good. And I have started to notice this for the past couple of years a lot, that no matter how bad the thing that happens is, and no matter how much it seems like
There'll be
it's
something compensating
that
on the bigger
how much
picture.
you know it, and it was even through a really bad times, like somebody passing away, or really like harsh stuff. When I now look at it backwards, or even sometimes when I'm strong enough to do it in the moment, when you look at the thing, you can always find something that like it is 95% shit, but there is this small thing
Yeah.
that actually makes me, I don't know, be better person or
Yeah.
something. You can always find something good
That's
in the
actually really
bad.
cool.
So that is a thing that I'm trying to do a lot, is that no matter whatever I feel like, oh, I don't know, the weather is bad, but at least we have snow, right? At least it's nice to look at.
Brighter.
There is always something nice that you can
Totta.
pinpoint on the bad thoughts and bad situations. So I guess that would be one of the biggest ones that I guess I don't want to say live by, but
That's a
that
good
I'm
one.
trying to be aware of.
Yeah, actually, that made me think about another motto, which not really mine. It's the motto of the city of Paris. The motto is fluctuat nec mergitur, which means she floats, but she does not sink. And that comes from the fact that Paris at the start was on an island, because before the original Paris was on the island of, I think it's Saint Louis, which is between, because the Seine river goes, and in the middle there was a river. And so it's an island. So it's surrounded by water, but it shall not break. It's been attacked many times by Vikings and everything, but I think that's a cool one as well, that like even though there's strong winds and it's like, tumultuous things, you still hold on to your sort of your winds, and you keep, sailing your ship. So
Exactly.
be like Paris.
Exactly. That's an amazing thing to end this episode with.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Samuel.
It was really fun, and maybe we can do it sometime again.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.